Welcome, dear students. The current session focuses on the factors that will determine the future of English. I hope and expect by the end of this session, you will have an understanding of the factors and those things that will contribute towards the status of English in the times to come. Well, my dear students, the question, what will determine the future of English, is quite a tricky question. It's very difficult to answer this, and probably there are no definitive answers. Which factors should be considered in this regard is really important to think about. Is it the number of people? Well, again, probably we cannot answer this question in a yes. Why we cannot answer in a yes? Because there are certain factors at work. If we go back in the history of English language, through the last 4 centuries, there has been a gradual increase in the number of speakers of English language who speak it as a first language. However, probably from the present times onwards, this is not going to be the case. Then does it mean that the number of speakers of English would decline? Of course, no. Because what about the speakers of English as a second language and as a foreign language? Of course, these are the numbers that are increasing day by day and with a great speed. In fact, my dear students, when we look at the forces at work, both centrifugal and centripetal forces are at work. What I mean by that is, there is this desire to be a part of the global community of the speakers of English, and simultaneously there is a desire to retain local identities and national identities. So, this is more like a push and a pull, activity that is going on. To understand what would be the possible future of the English language, probably drawing comparisons with Latin language would not be a good option. Why? Because though Latin language enjoyed the status of being an international language in the past, and today, it is dead. But, the factors that were at work in those times are completely different from the factors that are operating on language today. One of the major factors in this regard is globalization. One of the consequences of globalization is that through the media, we have immediate access to other languages and to other varieties of languages. Right now, standing here, if I want to connect to people, I can connect as many people as I want to connect, as I can have an experience of as many varieties of English, or I can establish a connection with as many different and varied users of various languages as I want to. This access was not available in the past. Of course, this has an impact on the attitude towards languages in general and towards English language in specific. Think of a group of people living in a Pakistani village. Probably most of them would not have stepped out of their village ever. But, they can sit around a television and they can directly be connected to a BBC presenter who would, use received pronunciation, the standard British pronunciation. So, this access to the standard British variety of English and simultaneously, their exposure to what happens around in the surroundings, the local variety of English, as well as the varieties of other languages, the local languages and the national language in the surroundings, they would have a push and a pull force working simultaneously. With a whole range of fresh auditory models, such as, the availability of television, radio, internet, telephone, etc., it is now easy to see how the type of English spoken in different countries could move in fresh directions. Global satellite communication is another force that is working on the language and its status. The pull imposed by the need for identity and the impact of the global satellite, they are, operating on each other. So, both centrifugal and centripetal forces operate on English language, where people have the desire to be a part of this global community, because if they do not use English, they would be left out, they would be isolated. They would not be able to enjoy the fruits of, what this world of power, what this world of knowledge that English brings with it has to offer to them. But at the same time, they want to retain their own identities, their local identities, their national identities, their religious identities, and their ethnic identities through certain languages. So, at one hand, the need for standardization of English language, and at the other hand, the recognition and the need to give respect, equal respect, I would say, to other varieties of English. Both of these factors are simultaneously working on giving the form and shape to world Englishes today. People need to be able to understand each other in today's world. They need to be nationally and internationally connected. And for this purpose, in the world, there had always been a need for lingua francas, but today's world needs a lingua franca the most, a language that would internationally connect them. Well, standard English is not identical everywhere. There are still differences when we talk of standard English. Especially, in terms of writing, you would find a lot of similarities, but when it comes to speaking, there are a lot of dissimilarities. We want to express our identities through language, and we want to communicate to other people all across the globe. What is happening today is we want to be different and we want to be the same. We want to be members of the international community, retaining our local identities at the same time. And I think these are the factors that are going to play an important role in determining the future of English language.